Like him or dislike him, he's never dull. We welcome Michael Moore.
Try to like him if you can.
Try to like him. We welcome Michael Moore back to Larry King Live, the Oscar-winning documentary filmmaker, best-selling author. Most recent film, Capitalism, a Love Story. Kind of prophetic today. We're going to talk about Goldman Sachs, and I think he's going to take them to task. The firm's executives, past and present, were on the hot seat on Capitol Hill today. Hearings just ended. Members of the Permanent Senate Subcommittee on Investigations accused them of unbridled greed and helping push the U.S. economy into a tailspin. The final witness, Goldman Chairman and CEO O. Lloyd Blankfein, finished testifying a couple minutes ago. Here's some of the grilling.
They are not told that not only are you not a fiduciary, you are betting against the very security that you're selling to them. You don't disclose that. That's worse. That's worse than not being a fiduciary. That's being in a conflict of interest situation.
I don't think our clients care, or they should care.
That you are betting against the security you're selling to them? They don't care?
You say betting against.
Yeah, you're betting. You're going short against the very security. You're holding a short position against the very security. I read you over and over and over again. You're selling securities, many of which are described as crap by your own sales force internally.
Michael Moore's with us. You watched the hearings. What struck you the most?
That's my senator from Michigan. Huh. We're a rough bunch. What struck me the most is that these Goldman guys all day long sat there hemming and hawing and essentially played the American people for chumps. That's what it felt like to me, because even when presented with the actual evidence that with their own emails where they're yucking it up about how they're taking people's pension funds, they're taking people's 401ks and investing it in something that they know is a bad investment, and then they're going to go and take a bet out in hoping that that investment fails so that they get money from that.
That doesn't make sense. Let me tell you, talk from a horse player standpoint.
Yeah.
If I'm a tout and I give you a horse that I don't like, while I bet a horse that I think is going to win, I win this race, but I lose you as a customer. Isn't that dumb?
Are you trying to tell me something, Larry? I didn't understand.
Why would you bet against? Why would you bet against? Why would you advise someone and then go against them and expect to keep them as clients?
Because this has been going on for about 30 years. It's all about short-term profit, short-term gain. There's no real.
But what happens to the people who lost in the short?
Then there's another schmuck around the corner, some other sucker that's going to come in there and invest, because you're Goldman Sachs, because you're the gold standard of how this works. I mean, that's not unusual. Why are those guys still down in Times Square doing the three-card money? I mean, don't we know by now that that doesn't work? There's going to be another tourist come up there and put their $10 down.
Let's play dumb. What's a derivative?
Derivative is something that is basically it's essentially the bet that you take from something that's real. So, for instance. And of course, now I'm going to explain something that was a big joke in my film, because it's almost an impossible thing to explain. But basically, simply put, let's say I need 1,000 barrels of oil for the coming year for my business, and I'm going to invest in this oil. But I also am going to I want to make sure, I want to hedge my bet too, just in case the price of oil goes up. So I take out what you would call a derivative to make sure that I get to...
You're hedging your bet.
Right. It's essentially a hedging your bet.
That's legal,
isn't it?
That's legal, done all the time.
Yes, that's correct. It is legal.
So what did Goldman Sachs do that you think, and they've just been accused, this is a civil suit, what did they do wrong,
because it's
in your opinion?
Because it's illegal to commit fraud. What
was the fraud?
The fraud was not telling the person who's investing in this... Timberwolf was one of the examples they gave of investment, one of the assets that they were getting people to invest in. If you don't tell the person that this is what they called I won't use the word, but a crappy investment, that's their words in their own emails to each other, you're defrauding the person who is taking that money and giving it to you. Because they're giving it to you because they're hoping you're going to do something good with it. And when you make the investment, you realize it doesn't always go well for you.
Were these mostly mortgages?
No, not all of them. No. They were. You could do a derivative on just about anything. You know, in some markets around the world, they do derivatives on or place bets on who's going to win the World Series or.
But they knew there were bad loans here, right? They knew there were bad loans.
Yes, they knew they were bad loans, and that's where the fraud.
That's the accusation.
And that's where the crime is.
Subcommittee members from both sides of the aisle were pretty much on the same page in their characterizations of Goldman's activities. Take a look.
You are the bookie. You are the house. You have less oversight and less regulation as you all began this wild, wild west of tranches, waterfalls, equity tranches, residual, warehousing. As you began all that, you had less oversight than a pit boss in Las Vegas.
I think most people in Las Vegas would take offense at having Wall Street compared to Las Vegas, because in Las Vegas, actually, people know that the odds are against them. They play anyway. On Wall Street, they manipulate the odds while you're playing the game.
Is this going to change?
And can I add to that? And we now guarantee your losses. So in other words, if you lose, we, the American people, will bail you out.
Is this going to change things, these hearings? Do you expect?
I don't think that these hearings are, especially the Dodd bill. I mean, Mr. Blankfein, by the end of his testimony, said that he thought generally the Dodd bill was a good bill. Well, that should kill the bill right there. If he thinks that's a good bill.
Which reforms would Michael Moore implement on Wall Street? What would he do right now? We'll ask him when we come back.